All right, can you briefly explain your job and what your program is exactly?
Yeah, so I am a community learning center specialist. I work for the school district through MSCR, and my job is to manage two grant programs, one at Lindbergh Elementary, the other at Mendota Elementary, and then our Safe Haven after school program here at Lindbergh as well.
Awesome. Can you briefly describe maybe some of the job duties you have or like a typical day for you?
When in the beginning of the school year, when we're getting programmed together, there's a lot of administrative work, interviewing, hiring staff, going through that paperwork, staff training, and then a lot of communication with families and teachers, seeing what families are interested in joining our programs, getting teachers on board to help promote our programs to families. So in the beginning of the school year, a lot of like registrations, clarifying paperwork, things like that. And then once we get into programming, there's a lot more just kind of putting out fires and helping support staff and families. During the day, I do a lot of emailing, a lot of meetings with school day staff, and then during program time, it's just kind of supporting the program. So whatever needs come up with students or staff.
Cool. And how did you get to this job? I guess like kind of a job path.
Well, my bachelor's degree is in community education, with a focus on anti-racist education. The program is through the School of Education, but it has a focus more on closing the achievement gap, some of the kind of structural problems with education where we're not serving kids, and a program like this is kind of the purpose is to try to help bridge that gap. So I started working with MSCR while I was in school, just as a program leader, and moved up to assistant director. I worked in a homeless shelter in Milwaukee as a teen night facilitator, and then came back to MSCR and have been working, just doing, started as a seasonal director, and now for a couple of years, and now I'm a specialist. So.
Awesome. Is there room for advancement with this job opportunity?
Yes. There is salary growth potential within the same position, and then there is also potential for higher positions. Those would be more managing, like my boss manages our whole team of directors and specialists, so there is some room for upward mobility that way in positions, and then salary wise it's incremental based on years of service.
Definitely. Cool. Can you just briefly describe what ACE stands for even?
After School Academic Center for Excellence.
Okay, cool. And how is that program funded?
The ACE program is funded through the Wisconsin Department of Instruction. So it's called a 21st Century DPI Community Learning Center grant. At Lindbergh, it's the first of 5 years, first year of a 5-year grant. Mendota is in its 5th year of a grant, and we're writing for renewal for another 5 years. DPI has funded programs across the district throughout about 10 of our schools. Some of them are on, this is the first year for Lindbergh, whereas some schools like Lakeview, where I was last year, and Lincoln are on their 11th year. So they renew them in 5-year increments. So
awesome. How are kids like allowed into the program, or I guess you'd say recommended the program?
Right. For the ACE program, it is, since it's grant funded, it is free to participants, but it's referral based. So students need to be below proficient in math and or literacy to qualify, and they have to be referred by their teacher telling us, yes, this child is below proficient. To start, I go through our summer school list from the summer before, and that's how I make kind of a starting point for teachers, because some of them are getting new students. So the beginning of the school year is always pretty chaotic for them. So I send them a referral form, and I fill in names of students who are on the summer school list, and I invite them to add more names or cross off any that they feel have become proficient or have some greater needs that our program wouldn't fit. And then our Safe Haven program does have participant contributions, so there is it's $315 a month for one student, and then there's discounts based on how many kids enrolled. We do offer partial fee waivers, so parents can submit 2 recent pay stubs or last year's tax returns, and then we put them kind of on a sliding scale. And then we do also get Dane County reimbursement for families who qualify for Dane County child care assistance. So
awesome.
we try
Very
to
cool.
make it as accessible as possible.
Very cool. What would you say you like best about your job?
Working with the kids. I feel like sometimes my job is really stressful, and then, you get a little, hi, Mrs. After School, or, a hug in the hallway. That's really rewarding. Just, the kids always brighten your day, and then especially when I do get the time to be in different groups and see the progress the kids are making, or see a child make some sort of breakthrough academically, however small, or behaviorally or socially, it's, that makes it worth it for me. So
definitely. What would you say is your biggest challenge with your job?
I think managing staff is challenging in general, and I think especially since pretty much all of my staff are part-time seasonal staff, there's a lot of turnover, and it's they're demanding jobs, so I think that aspect is a challenge. And then it's also challenging. We get a lot of support from the school, but it is, space is sometimes an issue, and just some logistical conflicts that, just little challenges arise. Nothing unmanageable, but, it can be challenging.
Oh, I definitely know what you're talking about there. So you said you manage 2 different places, correct?
Correct.
Is that typical for someone to manage more than one facility, or is it, well, I guess you'd say atypical?
Atypical for us. This is the first year that they kind of restructured our after-school team, and that was based on funding. The district did not approve more specialist positions, so typically, in past years, any school that had a Safe Haven and an ACE program had a specialist at it, and they were managing 2 programs. And then they have hourly site directors that manage just Safe Haven sites. This year we have more grant sites, but we didn't get approved for more specialist positions. So
Okay.
they paired up schools. So I manage the grant in Safe Haven here, as well as the grant at Mendota, and then Billy Joe is in charge of the Safe Haven and supports the implementation of the ACE program. Okay. So it's not ideal, just because the challenges of that are definitely, it's so important to build relationships with school day staff, with the students, the families, staff. It's really hard to support all of those needs when you're only somewhere, once a week. So that's where, my partner over there, Billy Joe, is really supportive, and it's great to have someone on site that and Erica, my assistant. So those are the people who are really making more of those connections. So it's kind of hard to manage from a distance, because a lot of things, it feels like I feel a little bit irrelevant over there, where it's like, well, I'm just like a name on a piece of paper. So it's different. I think it's, and everyone's making an adjustment, and I don't know if it's something that they will continue to do, because MSCR does really value those relationships, so that we can keep quality programming. So we'll see what the future looks like.
Awesome. And then just lastly, how many schools are offered this program, and is this more like regional or state, or even how far does these 2 programs span, I guess you'd say? Yeah,
so Safe Haven is specific to MSCR. There are a lot of other organizations in the area and throughout the state that would offer programs similar to that, such as the Y, the Boys and Girls Club, Wisconsin Youth Company, but Safe Haven is an MSCR program. And then ACE is specific also to our district, but our funding, like I said, comes from DPI, the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant. Those are grants that are given out, varying in amount of money, all across the state. So I was at a conference earlier this semester that had people from all over the state coming, a lot of smaller towns, and so they're running much smaller programs, but the same funding, with goals. And when you write for the grant, you just have to identify what need you're trying to meet. The need we see here is a very large achievement gap, and a lot of our students are below proficient. Like at Lindbergh, more than half of the students are below proficient, so we're addressing that need. So I can't speak to what the needs in other parts of the state are for their grant, but I would assume that a lot of them are similarly based. And as far as ACE programs, here we have, I think we have 10 going right now. Yeah. Maybe 9. I'm trying to count them.
Wow.
So.
Very cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, Andrea, and thank you very much again.
You're welcome.